My understanding is that he's getting paid that he's going to play Lou DiBella a flat fee. If he pays Lou DiBella a flat fee to promote him for this upcoming fight, then yeah, he's going to wind up making more money than he would have if he would have stayed with Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, I think there'll be political reasons for that. And Eddie's not bothered by any of these things. It's like, again, talk about bees bouncing off a windscreen. Eddie's bulletproof. You know?
Shakur Stevenson parts ways with Matchroom after one fight and teams with Lou DiBella to face William Zepeda on July 12th in New York. However, Eddie Hearn believes the situation is being blown up on social media. He maintains that a two-fight deal is already in place, with Turki Al Sheikh also involved. Citing Josh Padley as the first bout under that agreement, Hearn shared his thoughts on Shakur Stevenson's upcoming fight against William Zepeda.
I just think that, you know, obviously sometimes across social media and stuff, you can get it a little bit twisted, and you know, they had a chat, everything's worked out. Obviously we agreed a deal with His Excellency for Shakur Stevenson to have two fights. One was Josh Padley, the next one is Zepeda, so that looks all systems go for July 12th. We'll be seeing everybody.
This story dates back to April 5th, when Stevenson took to social media in a fiery rant targeting Golden Boy Promotions CEO Oscar De La Hoya and Turki Al Sheikh's team. This came in response to De La Hoya's claim that Stevenson had pulled out of a potential fight with Zepeda. Stevenson fired back, stating that the offer from Al Sheikh was lower than what he had originally been promised. He took to Twitter stating, "Is that what they told you? Turki promised me a number, and now he is going way back on that number that he promised me and sending his towel boys to run me the info instead, telling me straight up what he trying to do. Ion bowed down to nobody, Mr. De La Hoya. Now let's negotiate." It wasn't long before WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson issued an apology on X this Wednesday for his earlier comments in April about Turki Al Sheikh and his team. Now, Stevenson appears ready to move forward and work with Al Sheikh, with his next fight to be against mandatory challenger William Zepeda. "Excited about my next fight," Stevenson wrote. "It was a misunderstanding between Turki and the team. My apologies on my part for overreacting. Let's work." Reacting to the situation, Oscar De La Hoya expressed surprise and disappointment, calling Shakur Stevenson's behavior disrespectful. He remarked that Stevenson still acts like a kid, and given the way he took jabs at him publicly, he should be ready for a response.
I believe it was
he called me? He's getting on clapback. It's over for him. Yeah, it's disrespectful. I mean, look, he's a kid. And that's disrespectful. You don't do that.
Ryan Garcia also weighed in, stating that Shakur Stevenson should have waited for negotiations to play out before taking to Twitter. In his view, Shakur's outburst followed by a sudden change of stance is completely mad, calling him impatient and saying he acted far too hastily.
I think you just gotta wait for the negotiations to stop before you go out there and lash out, because it could always change. So I think he probably lashed out a little too fast.
Amid the ongoing drama, shocking news has just surfaced. According to Dan Raphael, the second bout of Shakur Stevenson's two-fight deal with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom has reportedly been canceled. Instead, Stevenson will now team up with promoter Lou DiBella to defend his WBC lightweight title against William Zepeda on July 12th in New York City. Dan Raphael wrote in a post on X, "In reporting on July 12th card with Shakur Zepeda, source with knowledge of specifics told me Shakur split from Matchroom, and his manager, James Prince, has hired Lou DiBella as his promoter for the event to keep an eye on stuff, handle behind the scenes stuff, maybe do some media." Reacting to the news, Fannin shared his perspective, stating that Shakur Stevenson's decision to leave Matchroom and align with Lou DiBella is a smart move. He emphasized that partnering with DiBella could offer more advantages for Stevenson, potentially leading to a bigger payday and greater career opportunities.
What do I think about Shakur's move to Lou? I think it's smart. I think that Lou DiBella is somebody that is kind of a neutral promoter. And I think that he's going to get, I think him signing a one-fight deal with Lou DiBella for a flat fee is a smart move.
Recognizing the move as a smart one, Fannin pointed out that if Shakur Stevenson opts to pay Lou DiBella a flat fee to promote his fights, the momentum could strongly swing in his favor. He confidently stated that working with DiBella could open the door for Stevenson to earn even more than he did under Eddie Hearn's Matchroom.
My understanding is that he's getting paid that he's going to play Lou DiBella a flat fee. If he pays Lou DiBella a flat fee to promote him for this upcoming fight, then yeah, he's going to wind up making more money than he would have if he would have stayed with Eddie Hearn.
Agreeing with Dan Rafael, Fannin emphasized that handling deals on a fight-by-fight basis makes perfect sense to him. He also took a jab at the current state of boxing, mocking the situation where fans have started calling Shakur undercard Stevenson. Fannin pointed out that this is what happens when the sport isn't allowed to grow organically within the United States, and instead relies heavily on promoters from Saudi Arabia.
Rafael said, Dan Rafael said it's a fight-by-fight. That's a thing they're doing. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me as long as Shakur wins. But Shakur has a much higher likelihood of continuing to win than, like, say, Devin Haney. At this point, his name is Shakur undercard Stevenson. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's what you get when you don't have people that are focused on American boxing. You know, they're not trying to grow the sport in the United States. Clearly, they're trying to grow the sport in Saudi Arabia. So if you're not a Saudi Arabian fighter and you're fighting on Saudi Arabian cards with a Saudi Arabian promoter, yeah, they're not going to feature you because your demographic is not what they're aiming at.
On the other hand, Showbiz the Adult described the situation as a strategic chess move by Turki Al Sheikh. He noted that Turki knows exactly how to navigate these scenarios, highlighting that Turki understands the fighters are becoming more accustomed to the business of boxing rather than the sport itself.
But I think it was a chess move. I think it's chess, not checkers.
The shit's chess, it ain't checkers.
And the chess move was performed by His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh. Let me tell you something what Turki knows that these fighters are going to have to get accustomed to. Boxing over boxer. It is what it is.
Furthermore, Showbiz went on to suggest that Turki Al Sheikh may have bigger plans in the works for Shakur Stevenson. He speculated that a potential fight between Stevenson and Gervonta Tank Davis is already being discussed behind the scenes, possibly in collaboration with Al Heyman.
It eerily reminds me of him saying, I'm not interested in Benavidez versus Bill, because he has something else on his mind. Don't be shocked if he's trying to speak with Al Heyman to partner up to get Shakur versus Tank.
Meanwhile, sharing his thoughts on the news, Gareth A. Davies weighed in, suggesting that Shakur Stevenson's departure from Matchroom might have some underlying political reasons. However, he expressed confidence that it won't faze Eddie Hearn, describing him as bulletproof, and someone who doesn't get rattled by these kinds of setbacks.
Yeah, I think there'll be political reasons for that. And Eddie's not bothered by any of these things. It's like, again, talk about bees bouncing off a windscreen. Eddie's bulletproof.
Reflecting on Eddie Hearn's loyalty to Turki Al Sheikh, Gareth A. Davies recalled a striking remark from Eddie where he once said he'd clean Turki's windscreen if asked. Gareth described Eddie as a boot polisher for Turki, emphasizing the strength of their alliance. He added that Shakur leaving Matchroom won't affect Eddie, calling him an arch survivor who always finds a way to stay ahead no matter the circumstances.
You know?
You think he is?
I think he's bullet. This is a guy that said if Turkey had asked him, he'd clean his windscreen. Remember, polish his boots. I don't roll your eyes like that. I know, but it's Eddie being Eddie, and that's what makes Eddie very special, and it makes him able to bounce back from anything. He's the arch survivor. It won't bother him. He'll look at the reasons why.
Offering his take on Shakur Stevenson's decision to join Lou DiBella, Gareth A. Davies stated that it's entirely Shakur's personal choice. He pointed out that countless fighters switch promoters throughout their careers, and this move is no different. Davies emphasized that it's not a cause for concern, reiterating that Shakur is simply making the decision he feels is best for his career.
Shakur wanted to go his way. It's a Turki Al Sheikh thing, or it's he wanted him to be with someone else. I'm fine with it. There's millions of boxers out there in the world. Mm-hmm. Shakur doesn't want to be with me. That's fine by me. Unless he goes the opposite way and hammers Shakur, which he might do. Who knows?
Meanwhile, Dan Cannabio and Chris Algieri also shared their reactions to the news. Dan noted that working with Eddie Hearn offered several advantages for Shakur Stevenson, with big plans and multiple fights already in the negotiation stages. However, he acknowledged that having Lou DiBella in Shakur's corner is meant to be viewing DiBella as a true New Yorker backing Stevenson on his home turf.
The Josh Padley fight was the only fight under Shakur's partnership with Eddie Hearn. They had big plans.
What a fight that was.
Right? It was supposed to be Floyd Schofield, it was supposed to be Cepeda, it was supposed to be a lot of things for Shakur, but he announces that his manager, James Prince, has now hired Lou DiBella to be Shakur Stevenson's promoter for the next event, which is William Cepeda in this July fight. obviously Lou DiBella, longtime promoter, longtime HBO boxing
New York
executive.
staple.
New York staple. This is a fight in New York. It's going to help with media. It says it's going to help with commission stuff. He's going to just be a New York guy in the corner of Shakur Stevenson for this fight.
Dan continued by expressing that he knows Lou DiBella well, even considering him a family friend, but was still surprised to see him now promoting Shakur Stevenson. He also admitted that the bad blood between Shakur and Eddie Hearn was something he didn't expect at all. Regardless, Dan found it shocking that DiBella was brought on as the promoter, especially for a fight in New York.
A lot to unpack here because, you know, I know Lou very well. He is a friend of the family and he's a friend of mine. I would never in a million years guess that he would have a link up with Shakur Stevenson. Would never really think that Shakur and Hearn had any bad blood here, or not bad blood, but just bad business. It looks like Matchroom could have extended this deal for one more fight, and they did not pick up the option. So there's a lot to unpack here, but I was like right away, I was like, Lou DiBella, that's good for Lou, but like not exactly the name I thought, but you know, tie in New York. I don't know, kind of makes some sense here.
Backing him up, Chris Algieri described Shakur's decision as totally weird. He expressed that he wished he could have been there when the decision was made, as it left him puzzled. Algieri also suggested that these are the kinds of situations where a fighter might not need a promoter. And for him, Shakur leaving Matchroom was especially strange, given his own past experiences in the sport.
Yeah, it's weird, but we live in a weird time. You know, we're seeing, like you said, this card, we're getting all these promoters coming together. And like, you don't even really need promoters anymore, these fighters. Man, I wish I was around. I wish this was going on when I was around. I would have been bouncing all over the place.
We're seeing a seismic shift. Keep going.
Yeah. Because everything back when I was coming, I was like, you had to be in long-term deals.
Criticizing Shakur's decision to join Lou DiBella, Chris pointed out that at this stage in Shakur's career, he really doesn't need a promoter. Considering this, he acknowledged that from a strategic standpoint, Shakur might have thought about aligning with DiBella, but the fact that it's only a one-fight deal makes it seem odd. Regardless of the reasons behind it, Chris finds the move completely strange.
Like, with this Lou DiBella thing, like, you're Shakur Stevenson. Do you really need a promoter at this point? I understand you're linking up with a New York guy because you're fighting in New York and you're not really, you know, don't have the New York pull. So it's probably a one fight deal, I would assume.
And that's a wrap on today's breaking news. Shakur Stevenson's big decision to part ways with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom is sure to shake up the boxing world. What do you think about Shakur's move? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest news and analysis. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.